Hello everyone, and thanks for checking out this latest video forecast. This is forecaster Nathan Kitchens here with the Vector Weather team, updating this video forecast on this Friday evening, February 4th, 2016. Apologize for getting this video out so late on this evening. I'll try to post a link again to the Facebook page tomorrow morning to make sure you guys can see this video forecast. I apologize for lack of updates here lately. I've been going through midterms here in college. It's kind of a stressful week. I made it through, thank goodness. Let's talk about the forecast here. We have a lot to talk about. Potential for some severe weather here, potentially setting up over the next several days across the plains, and we're also going to be looking for the potential for some very heavy rainfall across the central U.S. setting up over the next week. Now, I mean, we're talking about potential for some tremendous rainfall totals. Rainfall totals that could double the monthly average in just a week's time. So the potential is there for some very heavy rain over the next week. So we'll talk about that here in this video forecast. Let's look at the severe weather potential here over the next few days. Tomorrow we're not looking at any chances of severe storms, just a chance for a few storms here across Oklahoma. Not a big deal. Sunday, marginal threat here from Kansas down through west central Oklahoma, down through portions of the panhandle of Texas here. Sunday afternoon into Sunday night. Monday, which when we're going to be looking at a 15% risk here across parts of areas from Nebraska, Kansas, Oklahoma, down through Texas. So a larger area going to be in the potential for severe weather on Monday. We'll be watching that. So we have a dry line kind of working through here. Maybe some supercells trying to develop. We'll be watching this here on Monday. A large hail possible, perhaps some isolated tornadoes. Tuesday, we're probably going to be looking at that risk kind of focusing on Texas and parts of Louisiana and Arkansas. I mentioned the potential for heavy rain later this week, and I'll get back to that here in a second. Let's look at the current current alerts going on here across the United States. We have all this green showing up here. That's already hydrologic outlooks being placed here, basically alerting the public about the potential for very heavy rain. You need to watch those river levels, streams. River flooding is going to become a big potential concern middle and latter part of next week when we get some very heavy rainfall totals across this area. So if you live near a stream that's been prone to flooding in the past, going over its banks and flooding, you want to really keep a close eye on this forecast there for the next week, because the potential is there for a lot of flooding, especially river flooding, going to be a big threat here over the next week. Let's look at, we have a winter weather advisory here across parts of Wisconsin. This is another clipper system coming through, and we have winter storm warnings here across the Sierra Nevada. An active time of things setting up here across the west with a lot of snow across the Sierra Nevada. We're talking about hundreds of inches, over 100 inches here in some of these mountainous areas. So it's going to be a lot of snow for the skiers. You're going to enjoy that. Also yesterday we had kind of a neat little setup. We had actually kind of a little disturbance coming through, a clipper type kind of system. But kind of a surprise little snow event that's set up here across parts of eastern Kentucky, parts of West Virginia and Virginia. Basically, we had a kind of a dynamic setup where we had some dry air aloft and at the surface, and we had some heavier precipitation rates come in yesterday morning into the afternoon hours. And basically, as all this moisture fell, we had a lot of heavy precipitation falling through the atmosphere, and as that happened was, as that precipitation fell through that dry layer of air, what's happening is you're getting evaporation. As the precipitation evaporates, you're getting all that moisture evaporating into the atmosphere. What's happening is you're cooling the column down. So as you cool the column down, you end up getting just cold enough where you can produce snow at the surface, and that's what happens. So as the heavier rates of precipitation set up here across parts of eastern Kentucky yesterday, we had some very heavy rates of snow come down. And in fact, some areas had up to 9 inches. There was a report of 9 inches in eastern Kentucky yesterday. We had some areas upgraded to winter storm warnings. Kind of a surprise event. Because really, this was not expected at all by any means. Models didn't really show it. I know the National Weather Service certainly didn't expect it. Kind of a surprise setup that's set up here. Just one of those kind of dynamic setups that you really can't predict till you're right on it. Just goes to show you how imperfect of a science weather is, you know. Just a dynamic setup. Temperatures were very marginal, so it's not easy when you have such a marginal setup. You get off temperature just slightly, especially when you have a dynamic setup with dry air aloft. You get heavy rates of precipitation falling through that dry layer. You get evaporation, cooling, and you get that snow to fall. Basically, it's rate driven. If you have just light, basically where we had lighter rates of precipitation yesterday, it was just falling as rain or drizzle. But where we had those heavy rates of precipitation set up, it was starting to fall snow because we had evaporation taking place, and basically cooled the column down, cooled that temperature down just enough, and you produce snow. So that's basically what happened here yesterday. Just a kind of an interesting setup here yesterday. All right, let's look at the setup here in the GFS computer model here over the next week. Tonight we have that clipper coming down here across the northern Midwest, bringing with it a few inches of snow tonight across parts of northern Wisconsin. So a little more wintry weather to get through before our warm-up next week. And we're going to see that clipper diving down into parts of Ohio on Saturday. So not the prettiest of Saturdays here across the eastern U.S. Kind of cool, and some of that, some areas beginning on a little bit of rain and snow, but it's really just a weak system. And then look at the west here, very active, heavy snow, heavy rain, and below the snow line there, and just a lot of moisture coming into the west. This is the same storm that will bring the severe weather potential coming into the central U.S., especially on Monday. Is when the severe weather risk will be especially potentially a concern here in this area. And heading into Sunday, we're going to see a high pressure setting up here across the east. So looking not bad, cool but not bad here on Sunday across the east. Very quiet with sunshine around. And this high pressure is key. We have a very strong high pressure setting up here. And this high is basically going to be camping out here all week long here near the Carolinas. We're going to see this low pressure here. You see this low pressure here across the lee of the Rockies early Monday morning. With these two working in tandem, getting a strong southerly flow here across the central United States. Basically just a conveyor belt of moisture. We're tapping into that Gulf moisture down here, and we're getting that moisture getting transported to the north. And that's going to be basically our setup next week. It's going to give us that potential for a lot of rain in this area here next week. So Monday, we're going to be watching potential for severe storms across a kind of a narrow swath here from Nebraska down through central Kansas, central Oklahoma, and a good portion of central Texas on Monday. Been watching that closely. And heading into the middle, heading into Tuesday, I mentioned that apparently I'm way off here on the time here. Let me go back. Apologize for that. Tuesday, we're going to see the severe weather chance kind of focusing more here along Texas and Oklahoma and perhaps Louisiana and Arkansas. And here's the setup here. We have a very strong low pressure moving through southern Canada during this time from Tuesday into Wednesday. We'll have a front kind of attached to this here, draped through here. But the problem is that front's going to just kind of get stuck here. The parent's going to kind of leave its child behind. What a weird way to put this, but anyway, the front kind of gets lost here from its mom and gets just kind of stuck here. We get heavy precipitation coming through. Sorry about that. And this basically that front's going to be the train tracks for the heavy rain sitting up through this area. Next, for the middle part of the week here, some very heavy rainfall and just repeated rounds of rain, and that's what the concern is. Repeated rounds of rain in the same area over and over and over again for multiple days. So clearly flooding is going to be a concern. And heading into Thursday, Thursday night, we have a low pressure, cutoff low pressure that's going to be forming here late next week. And again, just continuing to keep that threat for rain in the forecast. Maybe some severe weather on the east side of that cutoff low. If you're watching that, then that low kind of moves to the north towards next weekend. So you can see here, just through that time frame, a very, very wet time of things setting up. And looking at the Climate Prediction Center from the NOAA Weather Prediction Center here for the 7-day precipitation forecast. So basically from right now, through a week from right now, this is how much rain could potentially fall. We're looking at potential for over 10 inches of rain in some of these areas. So, it's not out of the question. Someone could get a foot of rain out of this. Obviously, I think more widespread, maybe 4 to 8 inch totals, but certainly higher totals will be possible as well in some areas. So clearly, it's going to be a big flooding concern. Like for instance, Memphis, Tennessee, average for the whole month of March, precipitation is about 5 inches. And you can see the concern here. We're getting perhaps double what our normal would be for the whole month in just about a 4 to 5 day time frame. So that's why this is a very concerning for flooding. I imagine river flooding is going to be a huge concern for the middle and latter part of next week. And not just river flooding, but just, in general, flooding is going to be a big problem, probably, for next week across this area. So just keep that in mind. Very, very wet time of things setting up here. And you can also see the heavy precipitation setting up here across the west with heavy, heavy snow in the mountains here. How about over 100 inches of snow in Sierra Nevada setting up over the next week? Boy, snow lover's dream right there, that's for sure. And looking at the 6 to 10 day outlook, basically just showing you the general pattern setting up here that I've kind of already talked about. Also, I didn't really talk about this, the temperatures aspect of this, but we're going to see a very mild temperature pattern setting up over the next week to 2 weeks across the central and especially eastern U.S. We're going to see a very, very mild week next week. With very well, temperatures way above where they should be for this time of year. Temperatures could be as much as 10 to 20 degrees above average next week across much of the central and eastern United States. And with that warm weather, it's going to come with a price. Potential for some heavy rain here across these areas. And this is a 6 to 10 day outlook. So again, this goes from March. This is actually from March 10th through the 14th time frame. You can see above average precipitation setting up here across the south and into parts of the Ohio Valley here, and across even extending into the northeast during this time from the 10th through the 14th of the month. Well, that'll wrap it up for this video update. Appreciate you tuning in. This forecast update, and hope you all have a great weekend.